Okay, so this video is going to be a deconstruction or how to do Trikonasana, the standing pose, the triangle pose. So if you come to your mat, I'm going to try to do the left and rights correctly. So if you take your right leg out to the side and your left leg turning in, the first question that people want to know is how far apart should your legs be? Generally what I say is if you stick your arms out, where your wrists drop a line, a straight line down, that should come to your ankles. So here you can see my front leg is more or less in the same position, the right position. I could go a little bit further out, but my back leg is not far enough back. So I go a little bit further back, and then let's just check the distance. When I look now, my wrist draws a straight line down to my ankles on the front and the back. So the other thing with your foot position that you'd want to look at is where your heel is. Your front heel should draw a line through to the middle of the arch of your back foot. So if that's the arch, here's the middle. So you get your foot in alignment like that. Now of course if you're a little bit wobbly or a bit tighter, you might need to move your back leg a bit more out to the side. Also if you're a bit tighter in the legs, perhaps a tiny bit closer as well. Okay, so that's just two tips there. When we look at the front foot, when you want to have your front foot on the mat, you want the little toe edge. This is this area here of the foot, the little toe edge of the foot is parallel to the outer edge of the mat. So for most of you, it means you need to turn the toe in a little bit to make that outer foot parallel. And the reason that you're doing that is so that you can make a gripping action with your foot. So you grip the right heel inwards without moving it. It doesn't move on the mat. You keep it still but grip it into the mat. And when you do that, if you look down at your leg, you'll see the inner arch of the foot lifts up and the ankle, the knee and the hip start to come in line because you're actually externally rotating that front leg. So you want to try and get them in line because that's going to be a bit better for your biomechanics. When you do grip the heel in, sometimes all the weight goes to the outside foot and the inner foot lifts up. So then you need to press back down onto the ball of the base of the big toe and the inner heel. So it's a tricky thing. While you're gripping in, you're also pressing on the inner foot. The next thing with the pose in terms of when the back foot is turned in a little bit, okay? Now, when you look at this front leg, in this case the right leg, if your knees bend backwards or banana backwards, you need to make sure you bend your knee just a tiny bit, 1 or 2 centimeters to protect the knee. With your legs, when we say activate the legs, it means you push the feet apart on the mat. So you're pushing your front foot forward and the back foot back. We gently pull the kneecaps up to activate the legs. And to come into the pose, you allow your back hip, in this case the left hip, to roll down a little bit. Then place the right hand wherever it comes to on your shin. Now here when you're on your shin, you can be leaning heavily or you can lift up away from the leg, which is preferable because that starts to activate your core. Okay, so instead of leaning heavily, some people like to just have the hand stretching towards the floor, that's fine too, or fingertips. Whatever situation you're in, the idea is that you're not really leaning the weight down, in fact you're lifting up away from the floor. So that back hip is rolling down, the back leg's internally rotating, and that will give a lot of release along this lower back area. We lift away from the floor, the bottom shoulder here, the right shoulder, roll it inwards to turn the chest up, and then if it feels comfortable, you stretch the left arm up. Now, when you're looking down towards the floor, this is going to be a lot safer for your neck, and also if you're a bit wobbly. Only if it's okay for your neck, you turn the head up and gaze up towards the top hand. Both shoulders should move towards the hips. And then at the back you extend, I'll show you from the back view, you're extending the top shoulder blade up towards the ceiling. And then the bottom shoulder blade down towards the floor. Okay, so both the shoulder blades are spreading apart at the back. One more point with the back here is that a lot of people arch a lot. So while you've tried to grip that heel in, bringing your front sitting bone in line with the front ankle and knee, at the same time you might be in a big back arch. If you are, you'll end up when you turn squashing the lower back more. So that's part of why we roll that back hip downwards, and then also some of you might need to tuck your tailbone under, and that will help to lengthen the lower back so you're not stuck in a big back arch, and then lift up away from the floor. Roll the shoulder in, stretch the arm up, and lastly turning the head. The head's always the last thing to turn. And then what I encourage you to do when you're in the posture, when you've gone through all those bits and pieces, is go back to the beginning, down at your feet, the base, and you mentally scan and check that all the parts that you activated are still being activated. Okay, I hope that makes it a little bit easier to understand how to do Trikonasana, one of my favourite poses.